Story loading.
The story of the old lady who flew to the stars. Sometimes stories start with "Once upon a time" or "Are you sitting comfortably?" But this isn't one of those stories. This story starts with a great big noise. A massive, humongous, gigantic crash! Eli was out having a lovely walk when he heard this noise and jumped in shock. He thought it sounded like it came from the direction of Miss Wimple's house. Now, Miss Wimple was a very kind lady who lived in a little cottage on the edge of town. She baked delicious cakes, she knitted little blankets in rainbow colours, and she loved to potter about in her garden. Another thing that Miss Wimple liked were explosions. As Eli made his way down through the village, he could see quite clearly that the loud crash noise had come from Miss Wimple's shed. He could tell by all the smoke coming out of the door. He went to investigate. "Oh, hello, my dear. I didn't see you there. I'd just been doing a bit of, gardening," said Miss Wimple when she saw Eli approach. "Come in and have some tea, won't you?" Something else you should know about Miss Wimple was that since she was a little girl, she had been obsessed with space and dreamed of becoming an astronaut. But Miss Wimple didn't end up becoming an astronaut. Instead, she became a primary school teacher, and a mother, and a wife, and a grandmother, and head of the Jang committee in the village. And Miss Wimple was happy. But she still loved the stars, and recently she had started to read a lot of new books about space and rocket ships, such as Fundamental Principles of Thermodynamics, Rocket Science for Dummies, and The Warp Drive, Hyperfast Travel Within General Relativity, which was a real page-turner. "Miss Wimple, are you trying to build your very own rocket ship?" asked Eli, in shock. "Oh, I just thought I'd give it a go, but it isn't going very well because, you see, dear, it keeps exploding." As Miss Wimple walked off to put out the raging fire that used to be her shed, she looked sad. She loved explosions, but it was very disheartening when something you didn't want to explode went bang. Eli really wanted to cheer her up somehow, and so he left and started making a plan. "Thanks for the tea, Miss Wimple. Good luck with the fire." What if there were an easy way for Miss Wimple to go to space? So easy that anyone could do it. Eli suddenly had an idea. 3 days later, when he'd made all the arrangements, he knocked on the door of Miss Wimple's cottage once again. "Oh, hello, dear. Would you like another cup of tea?" "Not today, Miss Wimple. I have a surprise for you. Get your hat. We're going on a trip." So she collected up her hat and they set off. First, they walked down the hill to the bus stop and caught a bus into town. "Oh, I wonder where we could be going," said Miss Wimple excitedly. Once they got to town, they walked up the little hill to the train station and caught a train. "Oh, I do wonder where on earth we could be going," said Miss Wimple. Finally, the train arrived in London. There were so many people rushing about. It was quite a change for their own little village. Miss Wimple was getting very excited by this point. "Where, oh, where are you taking me, I wonder?" "We'd better get on, Miss Wimple," said Eli. He didn't want to be late. So they hurried along until they finally reached the surprise destination. "Oh my! The Science Museum of London! How very exciting! And what a lovely idea for a trip!" "Now for the real surprise. Today, the museum is opening their very own planetarium." Now, I don't know if you know what a planetarium is. Well, let me explain. A planetarium is a room with a domed ceiling. You sit in some special chairs and look up, and some very clever projectors fill the ceiling with stars and planets and the wonders of the universe. So, in went Eli and Miss Wimple, and they took their seats. The ceiling made it look like they were in a rocket about to blast off into sky. And there was a countdown. It went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off! And everyone went up through the sky, through the stratosphere and out into space. They were flying through the cosmos, with comets shooting past, leaving trails of dust in their wake. Past shining moons, on past planets of all sorts of sizes and colours. Past meteors and shining stars, out into the vast depths of space. Finally, they flew out of our galaxy altogether and could see the entire Milky Way sparkling and spinning through space. It was like magic, and Miss Wimple was absolutely, positively, completely amazed. Oh, that was fantastic! It was exactly like we were real-life astronauts flying in a real-life rocket. Thank you ever so much for this wonderful trip. The pair spent a good deal of time looking at the other amazing machines and exhibits at the museum, but soon it was time to head home. So they walked back through the streets of London to the train station and trundled along on the train back to town. Then they caught the bus back to the village and finally walked back up the road to Miss Wimple's cottage. "Well, good night, Miss Wimple," said Eli, a little out of breath from the walking. "Oh, good night, dear, and thank you. I have had the best day ever." And she gave Eli a big hug. And off Eli went home. And off Miss Wimple went to make herself a nice cup of tea and cosy down for the evening. She sat and looked out of the window up at the night sky with a great big smile on her face. What a fantastic day she had had, and what a beautiful night sky. Now, you would have thought that the trip to the Science Museum would have satisfied Miss Wimple's curiosity. But a few weeks later, Eli saw a large truck parked outside her house, and on the side it said NASA, and it seemed as if she was getting something delivered. Something that came in an awfully big box. The next day he felt sure he heard another loud bang coming from the direction of Miss Wimple's garden and saw a trail of smoke whooshing up into the sky. But then he could have imagined that.